Rolling Thunder is a 1977 psychological action thriller that deserves a far more attention than it usually gets. On the surface, it can be described as a revenge film about a prisoner of war returning home, but if someone watches it only for action, they are missing what makes the film special. At its core, this is a film about trauma, emotional numbness, masculinity, isolation, and how society often fails to understand people who come back broken from war. The story follows Major Charles Rane, played brilliantly by William Devane. He returns home after years as a prisoner of war, where he was tortured and mentally scarred. He is welcomed like a hero, but the public celebration feels hollow because internally he is destroyed. The contrast is one of the film's greatest strengths. Society sees medals, honor, and patriotism, but then the man himself carries invisible damage that nobody around him truly understands. Many films deals with veterans and psychological decline like Taxi Driver, The Deer Hunter, and First Blood. Rolling Thunder belongs in that conversation. In fact, it shares some spirit with Taxi Drivers, likely because Paul Schrader wrote both. But while Taxi Driver feels more stylized and feverish, Rolling Thunder feels colder, quieter, and more realistic. There is no glamorous anti-hero image here, no cinematic coolness, just pain, detachment, and a man trying to function after horror most people cannot imagine. What impressed me most is the realism, not only in violence, but in behavior and relationships. Major Ren does not return home and suddenly becomes expressive or emotionally open. He struggles to connect with people. He seems stoic, emotionally frozen, and unable to sleep properly. Even when love or affection is in front of him, he almost stops himself from showing that emotion that feels painfully believable. Many people dealing with trauma or depression become trapped behind emotional walls, and the film captures that quietly rather than through speeches. There is also an interesting angle about masculinity here. The major's inability to express pain or vulnerability feels like a commentary on how many men are raised to suppress emotion. Even when they are suffering deeply, they stay silent. That silence damages relationships, especially family relationships. You can sense that he loves his son, but he cannot naturally show it. That emotional distance becomes one of the saddest part of the film. The film also presents one of the strongest connections through the friendship between Rain and Johnny Warden, played by Tommy Lee Jones. Both men carry themselves with a stoic hardness. They are not openly emotional, yet they understand each other better than anyone else can. Why? Because they face the same horror. Sometimes trauma creates a bond deeper than words, and the film handles the idea very well. Their connection feels more authentic than many overwritten movie friendships. Another stronger layer is how the film criticizes society's ignorance towards suffering people. There are scenes where others casually speak to Ren without understanding what he has endured. One particularly sharp moment is when another man comments Ren was lucky the enemy did not do anything more worse to him, only for the major to reveal what torture really looked like. That scene works because it shows how casually people speak about pain that they have never experienced. Even the situation with his wife carries emotional complexity. She confesses involvement with another man and plans for a different future. I would not simply call her evil or heartless because life moved on while he was gone. But the timing of the confessions feels brutal because he needs emotional support the most. It adds the feeling that while he survived war, he came home to another kind of loss. The female lead also serves an important purpose. She feels like the audience watching this damaged man from outside. She pities him, questions him, and becomes a philosophical opposite to his mindset. She represents the possibility of healing, letting go, and starting again. While Rain is trapped in memory and pain, she stands for movement and renewal. That contrast gives the story more depth than a standard revenge plot. Then comes the violence. The action in Rolling Stone is among the realistic and tense of its era. It is not over choreographed or flashy when violence happens. It is sudden, ugly and costly. Good characters bleed too, not only villains. That matters because it creates real suspense. You genuinely feel the main duo could die. In many action films, you know the heroes are safe. Here you do not. The final shootout is outstanding because it balances tension, brutality, and emotional release. I feel the kind of suspense that many modern action scenes fail to create. Every moment feels dangerous, every shot matters. It is feeling not because it is stylish but because it feels real. Another interesting detail is the protagonist's physical condition and handicap, which adds even more identity to the character rather than making him look weak. The film uses it to show resilience and adaptation. It becomes part of who he is rather than just a plot device. Performance wise, William Devane is excellent because he does so much with silence. He rarely overacts, rarely begs for sympathy, yet you constantly feel his pain. Tommy Lee Jones also leaves a strong mark in supporting role, bringing intensity and shared understanding. Overall, Rolling Thunder is much more than a revenge thriller. It is a serious psychological study of a man who survived war but cannot escape it. It explored PTSD, male emotional repression, failed relationships, social ignorance, and the thin line between survival and self destruction. If someone loves action thrillers with depth, realism, and psychological substance, this is a very rewarding watch. It may not be as famous as Taxi Driver or First Blood, but it really deserves to be mentioned with them.